Hi, hello, happy Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom. Our lone mountain bog gentian, both because of the storm and because of other things, or maybe because just other things, has suffered some physical damage. Now, you may recall at one time it had 4 stems on it. Well, now it has only 1. You may also notice I've stacked some rocks up here around it. Hopefully to keep, if it is an animal or anything, from piling into it and doing it further damage. In fact, I dare say I should probably go in there like that. Like so, and help. Because if nothing can step on it and crush it without stepping on rocks first, in theory, they should be prevented from doing it any further harm, I hope. Now, circulating through all the topics, we will get back to discussing that plant and its future in a little bit. Over here, the boys are pretty much growing like weeds. Mr. O'Malley is out and about. And of course they're playing like they're going to fight. They beat each other bloody the other day. I could have videoed it when it happened, but I decided not to. Some people don't like seeing the sight of blood. Okay, this is that clover thing. It's growing over here. It didn't used to, but now it does, and we're very happy for it. Various flowers that have come in here since the time of the clearing of a lot of these cedar trees. I don't know if it's a change in the chemistry. Here we've got larkspur over here. We never had larkspur before this year. Again, I mentioned in previous videos that we had orange puccoon over here. Now, I do not know what exactly changed over here that made it where the wildflowers are liking it better, but they are. Over there, that pin oak that I showed last week, was it last week? Yeah, it must have been last week. Anyhow, the branch is kind of dying off, which is understandable because, well, it was broken off the tree. Of course, Hansel here, Hansel, what you doing? And Junior, what you doing, Junior? And Hans, the meaty boy, mean and tough. I don't say mean, but tough anyhow. They're all over here, and then Mr. O'Malley's over there, and Fran's over there. So they're all just being goats. Anyhow, so I just kind of wanted to point out that we had a few more flowers over here than we have in the past. I still need to go ahead and do something about these lilacs. They need to be transplanted so that the goats don't eat them. Another reason I did come over here separately was because I just wanted to see if there was any evidence, clear, obvious evidence of poison ivy. Now these flowers, I don't know what they're called. They are part of the pea family. And they're pretty when they're blooming, but they're pretty dead when they're not. I know that sounds pretty lame to say. Oh well, too many uses of the word pretty, I suppose. Anyhow, so lots and lots of legume type flowers over here. Now, shifting topics briefly. Not that there aren't other flowers over here. Safe, effective, successful flowering and setting of fruit over here carries on these grapevines, and they're looking really nice. Again, how many will make it to ripening, I do not know. After the storm, several branches died, but for the most part, we still have many times more grapes on this vine than previously. And again, it's a fairly young vine, so for the most part, it's pretty much very early on in its development. This vine, unfortunately, seems to have again not set any fruit that I can determine. Most of its flowers have proceeded to just go ahead and die. And I cannot get any information on the internet about what's causing this. And I tried adding more sulfur, magnesium sulfate, a couple times. I may have to add some kind of man-made fungicide, I do not know. But either way, all of its flowers have seemingly just been for show and not for making any young grapelets. So the vine is growing, but it's not fruiting. And so I don't know if this one's a waste of time or if it just needs much more care. We'll find out the hard way. Of course, I trained it up with a string, and hopefully it'll come up on the roof again. And I'm trying to get it where I can, again, keep it up above the water. This vine over here has been flowering. I don't know if it's setting fruit yet or not, but in the past it has set considerable amounts of fruit. I gotta be careful not to handle it too much because you can break the flowers off. And it's still flowering. They say that usually a really long inflorescence is 4 days. These have been open for well over a week and still haven't really set fruit. And the wasps are pestering them. But these things have loads and loads of flowers on them. Oh, this one is for some reason wilting under here. I'm not for sure. It grows and it wilts and it grows and it wilts. I don't know. The flower on it seems to have died. But there are lots and lots of flowers on it still. And so hopefully some of them will set fruit. Hard to say. That one looks like it's set fruit. It's hard to say though. Now in here, speaking of setting fruit, we've got 3 babies that may or may not be ready to pop any day. Snippy Snap right here. Yeah, Chestnut in the corner, she's going to try to bite my finger off. And then Tamantha here, who's got something wrong with her back where her hair is falling off. And I put up a lot more fly traps. I don't want to film them too much because they're pretty disgusting. But we have in here 3 mamas and 3 babies, but there should be 4, but one of them's sick, so she's in quarantine, unfortunately. And so basically what we have then, Silver and Gold are good looking, healthy. Jumpy Jeff is doing alright. And the mamas are fairly decent, although Mocha is still showing some scraggly signs of not being too well. She's pretty old. She's like 15 or 16 this year. I'm not sure. Fairly old for a goat. Now in here, we will show you Daisy, who is... Daisy is really unhappy right now because she's in quarantine. Little girl, poor baby. Now she should be out of quarantine Sunday evening, which is roughly about 24 or so hours from now. I put a feeder in here for her. Yes, Daisy. Hope that isn't too loud on the camera. And she keeps piling up all her rugs in the corner, but she sleeps on them. So, sometimes anyway. No significant changes over there except that that one, I'll go ahead and go in there. The one cactus that barely survived. Oops, that way. The one cactus that just barely survived over here has put on a couple new leaves on it, so it's recovering. The grapefruit trees are looking like grapefruit trees, still at potting sizes. Of course, they're not accessible to very much soil. Of course, these avocados are putting on new growth. These are the oldest ones. They're about 12 years old, I think. In the wild, they'd be putting on fruit. This one finally came back from the root. I don't remember if I showed that last week or not, but I probably did. My little onion sets are still trying to live. This thing has not come back from a, I don't know, that might be a growth right there. Hopefully, I don't know for sure. I'll keep an eye on it. Of course, all the spider plants have recovered entirely from their surfaces being frozen off because they've got big, deep, heavy roots. Oh, look, even that one came back. And it hadn't even had any water in a while. So, yeah, cool. So, avocados are super tough. I managed to knock down the thermal sending unit. It may not be reporting the temperature in the greenhouse very accurately at that point. Let me put it over here. There we go. So that's just scrap. There's not a plant in there. I'm not writing off that avocado yet, but it may be dead. But these two grapefruits are still going on. If they live long enough, hopefully they'll go into a full-size real greenhouse and they'll live and produce lots of fruit. Of course, naturally, the jungle of starts with a V. I know what it is. Anyhow, no. Anyhow, it may not start with a V. That's how bad my brain is. Anyhow, the aloe vera. That's it. It's not starts with it. It starts with A. Anyhow, it's just growing like weeds and needs to be subdivided, but it hasn't yet. Of course, my gangly little spindly pear is growing like a weed, very unlike a normal prickly pear. So thus I call it a spindly pear. Over in here, just again, other than a little grapefruit in there, this really old one is still leafing out, growing some. Some of them flowered really well, some of them didn't, but those who lived have. Now again, that feeder from a different angle. It actually technically holds 3 containers, but my little shelving mechanism is a little too tight, so that comes in here too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up so that I can put 3 containers in there, because one of the containers is water, in this case medicated. One of them is just regular grain, which is just a feed for their general use, and then one is a mineral supplement, which has things like selenium and various vitamins that are not found in everything else. So, and then over here I've got a couple of house plants. I've got, I put that thing in here because its leaves were rotting out there underneath the roof, and I can't think what it's called. Anyhow, I want to say hydrangea, but I'm pretty sure that's a different plant. Anyhow, so yes, Mutt and Jeff are in the house, and they're doing very well. They're about quadruple the size that they were just a couple weeks ago. They're growing like weeds, and you'll see more of them later on, of course, as the situations develop. But like when they went in there, I think Mutt was a good, I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds, and he's about 32 pounds now. And then Papa Bear was like a grand total of 4 pounds, and he's about 18 pounds. So they're growing pretty good. Now, coming up here, this fence wire, if I haven't broadcast most of this. Anyhow, I'm going to build a corral so I can keep the billy goats out while I work on the well house over there. Because our main well, after a recent earthquake, is starting to clog up and stop flowing properly. And so we've been running into problems with water. There's more fence wire for that. And then also those fence panels, when I'm done, they'll be used out in the field here and there for portable fence panels for pens, a little pen for individually quarantining adult goats for various reasons. Now in here, our tame thornless blackberry is producing lots and lots of fruit. It's set a lot. It's looking pretty good. Doesn't mean it'll all make it to fruition, but we've been getting lots and lots of rain this year, so it's looking good. Of course, I still haven't cleaned up this broken vine. Branch, limb off of that tree. It turns out this was an EF3 tornado over a half a mile in diameter. And somehow most of it missed us, although it flattened other people's places. Down here to the black raspberries. I finally picked a few. And but I missed a lot because I hadn't picked them. I'm too busy with other things. So this year, at this point, I've missed about between 2/3 and 3/4 of what's already ripened, just because I didn't pick it before it turned into hard little nerds that I couldn't really use. Now, there's still more fruit to go, thankfully, and I've got a collection point started. I picked some yesterday, and I'll be keeping up with it more aggressively now, because it only takes a few minutes to go in there and pick the fruit. But I hadn't. Now I've got, I have no idea how I'm going to deal with these black walnuts someday, except keep leaving them to the squirrels. But I've got so many fruiting black walnuts that of course, it lost a couple branches itself. And some already are in a baby pen. They've already been eaten, fed to. But I've got other walnuts growing up. I'm going to try, hopefully, to graft in English walnuts to them if I can. I don't know if I can or not. Pretty much the apple tree isn't going to bear any form of crop this year. The few apples it did have are all small, shrunken, shriveled, poorly developed, and already trying to ripen at small sizes. So it's probably just as well that it didn't produce any fruit this year. Again, I've been hoping to take those sucker roots right there. Let me see if I can zoom in on that trunk. That group of trunks right there are from the base tree below the graft point. So in theory, this is two different technically genetic trees. And if I can repeat it, the same process that the nurseries do, and take those, root them, plant them, and then graft into them with some water shoots, I should be able to reproduce the garden, the orchard. But if not, well then not. By the way, now that we're here, the yellow coneflowers are finally coming out. They're not as evident here where I'm standing. Of course, the daisies are still persisting over here, as the fleabane daisies too. That thing I thought was dead came back. Poke, it's fine. But the yellow coneflowers are kind of coming up. And then, of course, black-eyed Susans, yellow-eyed Susans, all sorts of stuff. Of course, the coneflowers are not part of the same family as the sunflowers. These things have just barely escaped notice of the deer a couple times, but for the most part they haven't. The whole flower arrangement over there has finished blooming and is done. I went, and I mentioned before, I went and I cleared this and I put manure and fertilizer and stuff in here, and I've got 3 distinctive main branches here. It's hard to tell until you get right down close to the bottom, but there's 3 distinctive main branches coming out near ground level, and I'm going to try to use the central post for a temporary divider and supporter while I rig up and get the 3 branches themselves to go ahead and grow out and be formed at 120-degree angles from each other, and then I'll prop them later on. There's either bees or wasps or something over there in those white alfalfas. Just loads of bugs flying through there, getting them. Then there's some bees and there's other stuff in there too. I don't want to get in them because I don't want to get stung or bitten, either one. So anyhow, that peach tree is just growing like a weed since I went and put new fertilizer and stuff on it. It's really happy. The hazelnuts, again, they haven't really done much of anything. I looked under them. There are a few fruits here and there, but most of the flowers on here did not seem to set fruit. Is that? Oh boy, it's Japanese beetle. Oh, dropped it. It's time to put out my Japanese beetle traps now. Grasshopper. So yeah, for the most part, these aren't producing very much in the way of fruits, nuts, if you will. Nuts are fruits to me. They are a seed, they are a nut. I generically bind everything together. My little celery plant is still alive, which is amazing. And it's these leaves here are new growth. Everything that's high up and broad is new. So it's actually growing. It's not just existing, it's growing. I'm very delighted to be able to report that. Alright, over here, kind of decide which direction I'm going to go. Squeeze my way through this, where this branch got knocked down. Still amazing how little damage we got from an F3 tornado, but people kept saying that being up against this hillside doesn't seem that very steep to me. But being up against this hillside apparently deflected enough of the wind so that the tornado didn't actually come through and do us very much damage. And it did come from off of that direction. And I filmed the other day the video of the other field where they just got tore up from the floor up, and they were in a valley too. But we didn't. I don't know. So here we are. We have big, fat, nearly ripe tomatoes. Let me put this out of my arm here. I've got these flags for a reason. Alright, so let me see that I haven't zoomed out too much or in too much. So I got this big fat tomato here that'll be ready pretty quick, and then another one right next to it. Now when these tomatoes come off, I'm going to build this all up. And then of course we got new flowers coming along to set new tomatoes. And so the idea is if I can get all these ripe tomatoes at the bottom, then I will go ahead and I'll pile up more soil and pile up the roots and keep these things growing taller and taller. It makes them stronger, makes them more rapid growing and more drought resistant all at the same time. Unfortunately, what's funny is I've got friends whose cherry trees, their stems are already red, their fruit's already ripe, and ours are not really turning all that fast. I don't know if it's because they're not getting enough sunlight, enough heat, or what, but they're not really ripening near as fast as the ones over at other people's farms, but about 8 miles away. So over here we got some red clover. I planted these avocado seeds. None of them seem to have opened up yet. Who knows? I've got, out of all the frozen avocados, 1 survived completely unfrozen, and 4 have recovered. 1 got broken, so you could say 5 recovered, but 1 got broken, but it isn't dead yet, so hopefully it won't die off completely. This one, I don't know if it's ever going to sprout. The 2 pineapples are not looking great, but they're still alive and growing, kind of. And then, oh, looks like that mountain bog gentian thingy didn't do so well. So it may die off. I don't know. It hasn't completely shriveled, but it hasn't grown much either. My lemon grass experiment doesn't seem to be doing too well. It had root nodules on it, but apparently they've died too. I don't know. It may just be I've done it in too hot a weather. I don't know. I thought being an Asian product they'd be prone to liking hot weather, but apparently not. Too soon to tell. I'll have to read up on them more. Everybody says, oh, just stick them in water and they'll grow. Well, not necessarily. Alright, over here, our potato vines are still growing and producing potatoes. They're supposed to be indeterminate, but they look like they've pretty much decided to quit growing. At least that one has. That one, not necessarily. I have to get around to repotting. There's 2 plants in that one in there, and I got another potato in the house that I haven't even planted yet. Let's see if we can possibly find of course the coneflowers are up here. The purple coneflowers on the upstairs have pretty much done their thing already this year. Even though they had plenty of rain, they didn't look like they were going to do much, and they haven't done much. They just look weak and sickly. May just not be enough of the right nutrients in the soil. I don't know. This is not really a nutrient-rich soil in most places. Of course, these mystery sunflower plants, they're doing well. A lot of plants are doing fine. Other plants are not. There's the yellow-eyed Susan. It's doing well. Keep forgetting what it's called. It'll come to me. It starts with a G. We'll call it a germanium, but that's not what it is. It's oh, is that not what it's called? Anyhow, it's geranium. Germanium is a mineral. Geranium. So it's not putting on flowers yet, but it might. Here's another variety of pea. Pretty little yellow flowers. The catalpa, haven't looked at in a little while. See, there's more than pretty little yellow flowers. There's ones with dark purple flowers, and some with light blue flowers, and some with the bright yellow flowers. Okay, the catalpa, I am not seeing any evidence of blossoming yet. So, in fact, it looks pretty feeble at the moment. I don't know. Okay, what do we have over here? Okay, more black-eyed Susans there. Okay. Well, we got while the crepe myrtles did come up, I don't immediately see any clear evidence that they're ready to bloom, or if they even will. They didn't bloom at all last year. Neither the old ones nor the young ones. The old one, or the young ones, plural. There's a poppy. They're here and there randomly. There's a few golden alfalfa left. I do not see any clear evidence that the crepe myrtle is ready to put out any flowers at all. I don't even know how many. There's a new crepe myrtle there. These may be coming up as roots too. Since this thing hasn't flowered, it hadn't put any seeds. And there's one there, that'd be 3. That's 4. So I've got 4 baby crepe myrtles, if you don't count them as sucker roots, root suckers, whatever you want to call them. I forgot to mention that the horse mint is in full bloom. It's up near the top. Of course, some of these coneflowers are looking better than others. When we get downstairs, you'll see better ones. More, there we go. There's some more. There's some horse mint over here, aka bee balm, aka bergamot mint, and it's got pretty flowers going on. The butterflies are doing great things with it. Everything's getting bees and pollination going on. Again, plenty of water this year makes the mint grow good and tall, because even disease-resistant and drought-tolerant mint like lots of water. So there's a lot more there than maybe meets the eye. There's another one, hasn't quite opened up yet. This thing, the deer have been eating it a lot. I don't know if it'll make any flowers. Its flowers haven't fallen off yet. We've got a few days of dry here and there. More black-eyed Susans. The reason I say dry is because the only way to set the fruit apparently is to not have it rained on, typically. There were some larkspur over here. They've finished blooming. They've done their thing. While I'm over here, there is some poison ivy here that I need to flag, because I sprayed for poison ivy once this year, and didn't see it all, so I'm putting out a couple flags since I'm down here. There may be more over here. I haven't seen any. Of course, that's one of the hazards of the deal is now I saw a video, I didn't watch it, I saw it linked towards me about, forever be insensitive to poison ivy, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a likely story. Alright, there's some poison ivy. Here we've got some of the pink roses. They already bloomed in some places and they're already done and gone. Really pretty when they do open up. So yeah, got myself some flags out for my poison ivy battle. War on poison ivy is never ending. This stuff is nasty. I hate it. I admit it's creation of the Almighty Yahweh, but boy, I tell you what, it's terrible. It's miserable stuff. So yeah, pretty much all of the irises have finished blooming. The surprise lilies are going into their mid-stage dormancy, and this is another branch from the tornado, which didn't seem like a tornado to me, but they say it is, and so be it. I sure thought I had a whole bunch of passion fruit around here at one point, but I came out and looked and it's gone again. Like something came along and ate it. I don't know. There's tracks through here, and it turns out some of those tracks are actually from the power line people. Okay, there's another poppy over there. You'll probably see a couple more as we go over here. I still haven't finished this field yet, fencing it in. That's why there's rolls of fence wire sitting there. I don't know if let's see, these cone flowers down here started later, but they're prettier. They're more robust, they're more vibrant, because the soil down here is better. I expect they'll bloom for a while longer too than the upstairs. I got perilla mint I still have to fight with. Unfortunately, it's another endless battle. The crystal clear creek is still flowing slowly. Because of the way the hydrology works, it fills up this little pond, which was an accident that I decided to not delete. And I can barely see a little bit of watercress in there. Watercress likes cold moving water, and so on that side there's more cold moving water. It warms up and becomes stagnant here. So we're going from the poison ivy battle to the perilla mint battle uninterrupted, except that it's taken me a long time to do it. And therefore I still haven't put a gate in over here, and that's all sitting there waiting to be dealt with. Some of the trees over there died, so I have to knock them down, unfortunately, because otherwise they'll fall right on top of my new fence. Hate to do that, but sorry. That's some kind of onion grass thing, real pretty. Let me see, make certain I'm zoomed out properly. Alright. And of course I've got thistle over here that I need to take care of, and it's already going to seed because I haven't. Put all that in my pocket and then carried away, and it'll stab me in my... See, there's some of them purple, those are a form of pea. Part of the legume family. The poke is already flowering, even though I never successfully picked enough of it for a good harvest this year. My own fault in many ways. The elderberries have successfully been blooming and now are setting fruit. Apparently the deer got distracted by something else enough that the elderberries have loads of fruit on them now. Or the one plant, that's like one single plant. It did get one branch broken in the storm. Some of them got a little nibbled on by the deer, but some of them are successfully flowering. So a little here, a little there. Some successes, some failures. Of course, the verbena, while it is alive and doing well, is not flowering in the heat. Let us see if any of the orchids are still up in the heat, because they're probably not, but who knows. We're in the shade. Huh! We're in the shade, and look at that. We've still got Jack in the Pulpit growing. It's probably done flowering for the year, but it's alive. Grattle, grattle, grattle. Babies. Okay, well, here's a passion fruit that has survived detection, or two of them that are growing. So good. The other day I came down here and I'd seen them, and then suddenly I didn't. And apparently they're just tough enough that they've made it through. The deer are see the deer eat these flowers off. Here's some of the flowers they didn't successfully eat. So the passion fruit will hopefully flower and make a lot of fruit, but then again, even though they may make a lot of fruit, doesn't mean I'll get to eat any of it, because again, the deer and the groundhogs eat it instead. It is what it is. Of course, the poke over here, doing good and strong. Hopefully next year I'll be able to get a bunch of it. More, and in fact there's seeds already going on here. Hopefully that'll make it spread like a plague. I say that tongue-in-cheek since I eat it. And more perilla mint keeps coming down the mountain. I gotta fight. Now, to come over here to this vine. Years ago, before it fell down, this vine had monstrous bunches of fruit. This year, it's the first time since it fell, like 3 or 4 years ago, that it's put on any fruit. Sorry, I'm picking up flags. And it's putting on really beautiful fruit here and there. So I'm very hopeful that it will be a steady producer of fruit over time, because some of the bunches I saw in it before were a foot long and had like 50 grapes each or more. They just had loads and loads and loads of grapes. So I'm really hopeful for that grapevine to be a good, steady, reliable producer based on its genetics and its location right up against the creek. Guess I already showed some of the holes the groundhogs dug, so no reason to revisit that. This thing seems to have lost much of the fruit it set, the cherry. The grape on it doesn't seem to have set much fruit. That's fine. I don't expect much from these black cherries, wild black cherries, because they're just not a good, strong fruiting crop. They're not robust. Well, I'm going to call that it. That's pretty much the end of everything that I have the video. Besides, I need to go feed my babies. So I will see you all later. I did want to mention briefly, though, is that I am considering putting a winter greenhouse literally right here against this cliff face. Now, in this summer shade, makes no sense at all. But if I clean that off just right in the winter time, when these trees are devoid of all their leaves, this will get good sunlight, and also if I level it off and everything, and it'll also get plenty of moisture and plenty of heat from that moisture, because if you know anything about physics, the water that produces this moss, this water constantly comes out of the mountain non-stop, no matter what you do. And if you drilled in there, you'd get lots and lots and lots of water come out of here. The thing is, that water brings heat out of the earth with it. And there is even, I saw it drip while we were standing here. There's a lot of water here, and that means a lot of heat. And if I isolate this all off and make it airtight in here, just this little section, maybe 30, 40 feet, I can have a whole lot of nice, warm, wintertime area that's right in the ideal temperatures for a lot of cool weather crops like cabbage and things, that spinach and stuff, at least during a portion of the year, especially shade tolerant plants. So it's kind of, it came to me the other day, and I may or may not do it, but if I do, this is where I'll probably end up doing it. And I've got markers here where you can see the various lines. Well, I can just use that cleavage and cut. And somebody might say, well, what if it falls down? Well, it could, but I'll put some steel beams or concrete, probably just put concrete in there as columns here and there to make it strong enough to support that kind of weight. And that'll keep it from going anywhere. Of course, I have to dig this all out and set it all level and everything too. But that's pretty much everything for now. So I will end it here, and we'll see you next Sabbath.